Right, so here we go. Pattern number 1. I love this one. It's the three-stage abreaction process. Now, there's a problem with the title of this pattern. What I'm aware of is abreaction has a different meaning for most therapists. The problem is I started calling it the three-stage abreaction process. It kind of stuck, it caught on, other people started using it, and now it's the three-stage abreaction process. This is the mechanism by which people use their emotional state to make you change. It takes the form of, if you do that again, I'm going to get angry with you. So essentially what's happening here is my emotion, my anger, is being used to threaten you in order to make you not do something or to do something. We could say, if you don't do this, I will become angry. So essentially, I'm threatening you with how I feel. This is the basis of the three-stage abreaction. Now, one of the things I saw, especially with anxious people, is they would be full of, in client sessions, in the work that I was doing with people, they would be full of hints that would basically say, don't do X because that triggers me to feel Y. So it would be things like, I'm hoping that you won't actually ask me any questions about, about the nature of my symptoms, because if you do, I'm going to get anxious. So essentially it's taking the same structure. It's if you behave in a certain way, then I'm going to have a certain response, and therefore I'm telling you you're not to do that because of how I feel. So behavioral change is created, not in me, behavioral change is created in you or in the environment. If everyone else did what they had to do, if everyone else did what they were told, if everyone else did what they should do, then I wouldn't feel the way that I feel. Again, everyone else has to change in order for me to feel different. Now, what I recognized was there are 3 stages to people really losing it, people freaking out, what I call the abreaction. Therapeutically, contemporary psychology and psychotherapy will say that the abreaction is almost like a release. So basically, we hypnotize the person, they relive a trauma, they freak out, and amazingly, they're cured because reliving the trauma really helps them, apparently. Now, that's what most people are talking about when it comes to abreaction. I've got to tell you though, actually, abreactive processes in that contemporary way can be very damaging to people, but also incredibly effective, especially for psychosomatic difficulties. But we'll save that for another video. So, this is the pattern that it follows. Stage 1, because there's 3 stages, hence the three-stage abreaction. Stage 1, I'm warning you. Essentially, what's being communicated is there's a hint of a threat. It's not a threat directly, but it's a hint of a threat, which basically says, I don't expect you to behave in this way. If you do, I'm going to have an emotion that's your fault. That's essentially what's hinted at. Yeah, I don't expect to be spoken to like that. If you loved me, you'd buy me flowers. I'm sorry, I thought you were going to be more respectful towards me. Oh, I thought you were going to ask me to sit down there and go into trance. You want me to sit here? So again, it's because I think something, you must change. It's a hint. There's just a little element of it. Stage 2 becomes a much more direct threat. The threat takes this form. I've told you once. I've already told you about this. I've warned you that I don't appreciate being spoken to in this way. I say when I came in I didn't want to talk about this. I'm telling you right now, I don't want to talk about this. So it's these kind of behaviors, which is basically, you didn't hear me the first time, so I'm going to put more energy into the communication. What also is going to happen is the emotion may not have been present at stage 1. At stage 2, because of the energy that's being put into it, the emotion now is very, very much present. It's now I'm not very comfortable with this, you must change your behavior. Or it could be very emotional, and people start to cry. And there's all sorts of emotional stuff that's going on with them, and there's a display. You might see this. There might be stress rashes appear. Because the feelings become present, they're now active in the body. What we'll start to see is the manifestation of the physiological responses to those emotional states. It's worth bearing in mind that what we've got going on here is that typically these 3-stage abreactional processes are emotional states people are living their life to try and avoid experiencing. Because when they get to stage 3, there's not a lot of dignity in stage 3, which we'll get to in a second. Plus also, it doesn't make me very popular with you if I'm freaking out, getting angry all the time and that kind of stuff. So what we start to see are people who have very intense, unwanted emotional states, things they want to change. But because of the sensitivities around them and the attribution that these things are triggered by other people, their lives are organized away from feeling those feelings, and their relationships are organized where the parties they relate to are conditioned to behave in certain ways lest they trigger this horrible emotion that I feel. You know, if you're around one of these people, you find yourself walking on eggshells. You know there's certain things you're not allowed to say, there's certain behaviors, there's certain jokes or humors you're not allowed to use, which you could use with anybody else, but with this particular person, no. That's because they've trained you away from those behaviors using their three-stage abreaction process. So stage 2 is the feeling is very present, and we'll start to see manifestations of it, whether they start getting a bit tight, they might be sweating a little bit. I say the stress rash is a very common one. Their leg might start bouncing up and down, they might crack their knuckles. My other favorite one, the gloved fist. So we've got a very tight hand and one that's very relaxed and massaging it. They often don't know they're doing it. It might even be on their lap, but you see this kind of, but it's a gloved, it's veiled, it's kind of, That's stage 2. Now, what they're doing here is, I have told you, and I'm now threatening you directly because you didn't get the hint at stage 1. Now, most people at that point will seek to disengage from that interaction, the person who's feeling that feeling, because they don't like feeling this way, and they may be holding you to account for promoting feeling this way. So this is the point they disengage, and they want to move away from you. All very well and good socially. But if you're a therapist working with that person, and this is what you're doing, you want to provoke this emotion to be able to work with it, the person may not be able to escape because the social construct says they can't get up and go because they're paying money to be here for therapy and all the rest of it. They might go to stage 3. Stage 3 crosses a threshold. There's a point where I can contain and deal with this emotion quite easily by making you change your behavior. Most people will change their behavior. If I don't, or if the therapist doesn't, they cross a threshold, which is now they might erupt. Now what they're saying is, I now feel this thing to such a degree, you now have no choice but to change your behavior. They crossed a threshold that says, now I'm punishing you for not changing your behavior, and now it's your fault I'm feeling this way, and the consequences are yours. How are you going to feel when I storm out slamming the door, for example? How are you going to feel when I shout at you or have a complete breakdown, or I threaten to now kill myself because I feel so bad? These kind of behaviors. A real life example of a stage 3 abreaction, a very poor calculation on my part as a therapist. I was working with a young troublemaker. He looked angelic. I should have paid much more attention. I've learned that when the children come in and they're full of scars and hate and contempt, they wear it. They're very easy to work with. The ones where they tell you, he's psycho, you've got to be careful, and they look like little cherubs, they now make me nervous. Because they hide it, they can mask these behaviors very easily, and so they can go from 0 to hero in a very quick transition, like this kid did. So here's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get rapport with him by working through mother first, and then I'm going to work through him to get rapport with I was trying to be clever, didn't work. Child isn't getting the attention he thinks he wants from me, and he basically starts sighing, tutting, looking around the room. Stage 1, except I ignored it. I should have at that point gone, okay, this is stage 1. I wasn't because I was too busy trying to be clever. Then what he does is he moves to stage 2, which is he now kicks, just kicks out and pushes his chair back against the wall. It made him put much more energy into the communication. Now he's making a noise, of course, because the chair's scraped and bashes against the wall and all the rest of it. And like an idiot, I ignored it. Stage 3 came extremely quickly, where he just jumped up. This was a few minutes later. He jumps up out of his chair, goes out of the front door, goes down outside of the building, goes next door, where they've got some building work going on, and he comes back with some bricks, and he hurls the bricks through the window, then goes back and rearms himself and starts hurling some more bricks. Classic three-stage abreaction. Warning to you all, when they look like little cherubs, be afraid. Think The Exorcist, but I won't say that. That would be an unprofessional thing to say. So that's the three-stage abreaction. Essentially, stage 1, I'm telling you to change your behavior. Stage 2, I'm threatening you to change your behavior. Stage 3, I'm now punishing you for not changing your behavior. Now, for those that want to play with this, some of you may well have a relative that behaves this way. They may be someone in your social circle. You know who this person is because they guilt you. They give you the guilt stuff all the time. They hold you responsible for how they feel. You know this person because when they phone, you don't pick up the phone, or you avoid contact with them, or you basically just try and avoid them as much as you can, but you can't because you're related to them. They're the ones you're always putting off the communication because you just know it's coming. Now, this is how this works. There's the 2 magic words. All right, it's technically 3, but it's 2, just for keep it easy. That's right. And these are the words to use. So the person says, for example, I'm very disappointed in you, rather than going, oh, I'm terribly sorry you're disappointed in me, blah, 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 and then getting into a thing with them. What you do is you go, that's right. So nothing else. I'm very disappointed with you. That's right. And wait, don't say anything else. Don't do anything else. Don't break the tension. Where are they going to go with it next? This now is kind of a little interesting dynamic that gets created. Or you could do this. I'm very disappointed with you. That's right. You are very disappointed. I'm not going to say you're very disappointed with me. I'm just going to make it about them because this is their emotional stuff that they feel. Anyway, that's right. You are disappointed. I'll be very angry with you if you don't phone me tomorrow. That's right. You will be angry. You see how this works? Now, I'm not going to say that this is going to make everything fine, and it may well provoke a stage 3 abreaction. But what we're doing is we're handing the emotional threat back to the person. We're inviting them to reconnect with the ownership of this emotional thing. If you loved me, you'd buy me flowers. That's right. I'm not going to say I would buy you flowers if I loved you. That would be a mistake. But you just go, that's right. So that's right is a very useful thing. I thought you'd be more sympathetic. That's right. I thought you'd show me more respect. That's right. That's it, those 2 magic words. That's right. Okay, now we're going to go to the second pattern of chronicity.